Hey guys, what's going on? Trent here with another episode of Build Own Moto. We've got a 2003 YZ125 with no compression. I know that's probably something that's not very, surprising to you guys. These things get abused all the time, ran all the time. I don't think the young man that was riding this abused it by any means, but I do think it's a learner. As you've seen in the last video, or a couple videos ago, his first time on a two-stroke. This bike, he was riding it and all of a sudden it cut out on him. There's little to no compression. I'll show you guys that in a minute. So we're gonna kind of look through. I know that these kind of bikes are also famous for water pumps going out. So we're gonna check coolant level. We're gonna check the rings. We're gonna check the jug, check out the piston, see if it needs a new piston, kind of look through the whole thing today. And yeah, just kind of give him a direction so that he can either get riding again or figure out a different bike or something along the lines of that. So this week we'll get into it. The first thing this bike needs is a bath. It needs a wash. Luckily I've got a power washer here in my parents' garage, and we're just gonna kind of power wash this thing, clean it up, and get into tearing off that top end. So we're gonna see you guys in a minute. Okay, so I wanted to show you what we're dealing with here, but as far as this kickstart goes, I mean, that's pinky. And I'm gonna check his spark plug, make sure it's tight, but we're gonna start taking that gas tank off of this thing, see if we can figure it out. You know, leave down in the comments if you think you know what it is, or if there's something that you've experienced like this. I have experienced water pump failure in these before. I've experienced burned up pistons on these. So there's quite a bit of things that I wanna look into and see if maybe that's the problem, and kind of see, okay, what's going on with this motor. I know it was super dirty. There's a lot of oil coming out of it, so we're gonna check the oil level. It looks like it's been rebuilt. I mean, there's a green gasket here, green gasket there. I'm sure we're gonna find something in the cylinder. It's nice and clean. It has probably been rattle canned before, but we'll kind of go from there. So yeah, let's tear into this. All right, so a few things I always start with. Coolant level. I could get a flashlight, hold on. I'd say that's pretty dry. What'd you guys say? Not much happening in there. A couple ideas, maybe that could lead to it. We're gonna find out. We're gonna try and drain the coolant here in a minute, because I know I'm probably gonna need to get into that top end and at least figure it out, because this is the first time I've been tearing into a bike like this. There's been times where I found out there was no coolant, it was low, and it burned up the piston, and it felt a little bit like there was dirt in there. This one doesn't feel like there's dirt in there. It just feels like it's super loose and super easy to play with. So I'm gonna check that spark plug first, see maybe if it's just loose enough to give compression, but we're gonna find out. Get you guys a good angle here. I mean, it's not loose by finger. So we're gonna check into that. I don't see any debris that would have been leaking. Of course, I just washed it, so that could be part of it. And it's got Tusk, all of these radiator hoses are Tusk, which is a pretty good brand in my opinion, at least how I ran into it. I noticed that the carburetor has no hoses on it for draining, so it probably just leaks right onto, who's this little guy, probably leaks right onto the bike. So we could get some hoses for him if he wants it. I also noticed that he's got the fuel on the off position, but that's not gonna change anything if it's got no compression. So we're gonna start with compression. We can check spark, but if we've got zero compression, we're wasting our time on spark. So we're gonna pull all this apart. This is gonna come apart. We're gonna look into probably taking off this top end and just kind of see what happened. Yeah, so let's start. We'll disassemble, take the tank off of it, drain the coolant, and go from there. Okay, moment of truth. Let's find out. Is there anything coming out of here? I always make a mess with this stuff. So I'm going to try and reset the bike just a smidge. I'm going to stand and we'll adjust your ankle here in a second. Looks like you guys are pretty close. There you go. Look at that. Now you can see. Let's find out if there is anything in this thing. If there's not much in here, I think I know the culprit. I have an idea. Oh yeah, some. You guys, haven't I told you how much I hate coolant? It's a good sign though. Means that wasn't the cooling system. Don't mind my mess I just made everywhere. Been a mess all over the floor over here, so we're gonna clean that up real quick. So I'd say with the amount of coolant that came out of here, our problem is not heating or cooling. It could be the water pump on these, I'm not sure. The one, I had a 95, which is only like, what, 8 years difference, because this is an 03. Very similar motor, a few changes on it. But they made the water pump like a plastic housing in here, and it would strip out. It stripped out and it would spin freely inside of the gear. So as that shaft came in and rotated, it had no grab on the part. So we're gonna look at that water pump just to make sure that that's none of the issues. We'll check that out here in a few, but I really wanna see what kind of shape the top end's in. So we're gonna continue, we're gonna take the pipe off and go from there. Okay, so radiators are off. We're gonna start taking it. We're gonna take this bracket off here. We're gonna remove this guy and then start pulling the top in. Once I get into here is when I'll be able to tell kind of what's going on there. I might be able to look at the piston, tell you, okay, we got a problem or not. I didn't see any debris coming out when I took off the exhaust pipe, the expansion chamber. We'll find out there was coolant in those, so it's not overheated. It could have been fuel mixture. Okay, moment of truth. Does not look all that bad. Can you see how much play is in that piston? I'm not sure that there's supposed to be that much play. There's also a lot of scoring on the inside of this little guy, so we're gonna pull it apart. I'm willing to bet the reason he has nothing is because, I mean, even look at the shavings there. There's some shavings. I want to see what shape that piston's in that's in there, and what kind it is. I mean, if it's a cheap piston, that could have been the other reason that it imploded. So we're gonna remove all these bolts, like this one here, all the way around, pluck that jug off. Okay, so something nobody ever taught me is how important this gasket right here is. You lose this gasket, it's very hard to find, I'm not gonna lie. It's just a power valve gasket, and then how important it is not to over tighten or overdo these 3 bolts. Because then you crack everything in there, and there is a gasket behind it. You could try and save it depending on what was put on it. I mean, the previous owner, before Nathan, may have put gasket on it, gasket sealant on it. We're gonna find out here in a second. But I'm really thinking what might have happened is it may have overheated due to the water pump possibly being bad, and I still haven't ruled out the water pump. That's my hypothesis. And then I don't see a clamp on there. Ooh, look at that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I do not see a clamp on the end of that thing right there. So we're gonna have to get a clamp for him too. But we'll go back to what we're doing here. Get this all tore apart. See that clutch line? Yeah, it's usable, but that's gonna rust out. Then you're gonna have problems with the clutch. Next thing you know, you're stranded in the woods because the clutch line gave out. So rather than be stranded in the woods, I might tell Nathan he needs to get that, and then possibly a kill switch, because I'm looking at some undone wires here. That's no bueno. So get that kill switch working for him. But let's go ahead and keep all 3 of these bolts. Let's remove this guy. Come on, little buddy. Perfect. And it looks like I was able to save that gasket if we want to reuse it. Now, pay very close attention to what's in here. There's probably a washer behind that, maybe even a washer, looks like right there, but you want to be super attentive to where that is, and this should be able to float up and down according to what it needs. And there should be some tension on it too, because there's springs in there, kind of pushing it back down to keep it open. This is your power valve. What they talk about with these bikes is when you're on it, when you're flooring it, this is going to open up and allow more fuel and air to travel in and out of the exhaust port here. If you're not on it, it closes it, so it keeps more compression in there for that lower end. These 2-strokes don't have a lot of bottom end power, but this is something they did to kind of fix that a little bit and help it. I mean, this bike is meant to be kept in the R's, keep the RPMs up, keep that power valve open, keep it wide. And so that's the difference in what you're seeing here. But this is a key point when they figured out, I think it was somewhere in the 80s when they figured out how important it was to have a power valve. So let's continue. We're going to remove this bolt, another bolt like that, pull this whole thing out the way. We might even get this clutch out of the way and go from there. Looks like it's already loose there. We're going to go ahead and remove the jug out the way here, straight up. Grab that piston down nicely. A little bit of stuff coming out of that. Ooh, he cooked her. His jug is donezo, guys. And I'll show you why. Alright, you guys, I'm not sure how well I can show you this, maybe from this end, but there's a huge chunk missing right there. See that? That thing just got carved and it split all the way to the top, and that would be exactly why we're missing it. Right there, see that piece there? I don't know if this jug is repairable, so I'll get online and see if I can find him one, but she's been chewed. It definitely caught and just ripped a couple times there, and by the looks of it, he was cooking. It doesn't take a lot for that to happen, but it does take a lot for that to happen. So this jug, unless re-sleeved or bored out, is it's cooked. So yeah, we're gonna see what we can find, but we're gonna keep looking into that and definitely talk to the owner soon here and see what he wants to do. Yeah, I think this is just one of those catastrophic failures that happen. I don't really have a great angle, but you can see how pulled out that lip of the ring is. And then the other thing that caught my eye earlier is how sharp the front of that piston ring, or that piston is right there. It must have like kinked in there and then just smashed it all up. It's been split. The piston ring's been split into two pieces here. I mean, because there's the actual split that's supposed to be there is back here. Right there. Oh, yeah, there it goes. So the piston ring's been split into two pieces. So that was quite the grenade there. He's lucky he didn't blow out anything else. The crank feels incredible. No up and down. It is a little overheated there. But it doesn't look like it has affected the play in it. So got side to side, plenty of that, but I'm not feeling any up and down play there. So likely if we got a jug, this thing would run again and be fine. All right, guys, well, as you can see it, that jug is cooked. I don't know that this bike is gonna be running again unless we get a new jug and a piston. So it's gonna need a jug, a piston, a top end kit, and a couple odds and ends to get this bike running proper. I would say definitely not surprised by a lot of the stuff that I found today in this bike. So I'm gonna get a hold of the owner and see what he wants to do and go from there. I would love to see this bike run again. So yeah. Hey, also thanks so much for watching this episode. If you guys are enjoying this, I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers this year. I'm sitting around 170 right now, just over that. So if you're liking the content, if you're liking what you're watching, if you're learning a lot from these videos, please continue to like, subscribe, and yeah, I'll put my Instagram and stuff up in the bio here for you guys. But yeah, this bike is cooked. We're gonna have to do some work on this bike to get it running. Nothing I can't handle, but the problem is money right now. You know, is this bike worth it for this young man to fix it? And we'll go from there. I'm definitely not going to charge him parts or labor for this. I definitely want to ride with Nathan, but I can't just pay for the parts all this time. So I think it's gonna be something we're gonna have to look into and decide the future of this bike. And yeah, I know he's not really out anything here. He got a trade on it, but definitely feel bad. Definitely want to try and get it running for him if we can, and definitely would love to see him out on the trails again. So till then, we'll see you guys, and yeah, have a good one.